the Abscondo Podcast. Hi, welcome to the Abscondo Podcast. This is Mark. I actually did a podcast just yesterday, but I want to do another one today. I'm in the mood for it. And we're going to talk about moods today. And primarily the mood, or the feeling, the emotion, the thought system of fear. Fear is never a solution to anything. It is always the problem. And this is exactly what's happening in the world. We're caving in to fear. The vast majority of people are either willingly going down this dark path or being forced down it by the governments and the media, or some combination thereof. And there is no end game. There is no solution to be found in these reactions of fear. Let's just look at some of the numbers. I'm not going to go through specific numbers, but I don't pay attention to the media, but I do look at that worldometer. I do see the cases of the virus and the death rate in the various countries and so forth. And on the surface, if you're looking at those numbers and say, how many people healed from the virus and how many died from it, it's like 10% that died in the end, when the virus runs its course. Now that sounds super scary, obviously. And you're thinking, man, if I get this, I have a 10% chance of dying. And so there's some kind of scientific rationale to why you think you should be scared and why you should wear a face mask or why you should hide away from the world and just cave into fear. The thing is, a healthy person, a person who's not living in fear, a person who's not stressed out from that fear, and we'll talk about that, would not catch the virus. You could be sneezed on, you could kiss someone who has it, and if you are in a perfect state of health, you would not catch it. Now, if you look at those numbers further, you can see that even though the numbers seem high for countries like China and the U.S. and so forth, as far as total cases and all this, it's a small percentage of the population. Out of 1 million people, most countries are experiencing maybe 50. The worst side of it, 50. There's some that are worse. Italy's worse. We'll get to Italy in a second. But 50 people out of 1 million are going to catch this thing, like in China, and out of those, 10% are going to die. So you're talking about 5 people out of 1 million who die from something. And furthermore, those 5 people are old. They're really old. Or they have very serious other health conditions that make them susceptible to death from this virus. So the fact is, when you look at yourself, if you're in a good state, you're not going to get it. You're not going to catch the virus. And even if you are, you're in that 90% of people who will live. So the fear reaction in the world is to shut everything down, to not go to work, to not go to school, to not go outside, to not meet your friends and loved ones. Where I live, I see people driving in cars with masks on. It's insane. This is insanity of fear. If you're one of those 5 people out of 1 million who are probably going to die from this virus, you are in sore shape to begin with. Let's talk about Italy. Italy is the hardest hit from any country. And I've been to Italy several times. No one ever says this, but I'm going to say it. Italy, I love Italy. I love spending time there. I feel, there's all this energy and this excitement in the air, right? But what is that energy and excitement? It's stress. Italians are very stressed out. I've never seen a place where people yell at cars, taxi drivers are yelling at everything happening. Everybody's yelling at each other and getting all worked up and excited all the time about everything. And it's kind of cute. But the fact of the matter is their inner state is not one of being centered. They're not very spiritually centered people. They're looking for comfort to come in the external form. They're always trying to arrange the world according to their aesthetic tastes and their needs. And that makes for a wonderful country to visit or maybe to live in, but not for me because I want to live in peace. And I don't feel a lot of peace when I'm around a lot of Italians. Furthermore, of course, they're an older population. And if you look at, those countries with or those, cases, or like, for example, Washington State, even the vast majority of those deaths were people that were in, senior citizens. Or if you look at some of these places, retirement areas where there's older people living there. And older people who are stressed out, already ill from all the fear and stress, yeah, they have a good chance they're going to die from from a really bad flu. They also die from regular flus. But at the end of the day, what are we even talking about? We're talking about a situation where we're shutting down our entire lives and retreating into fear. And what do we think the end game is? That we just continue living this way? We're never going to go out and take a flight somewhere, never go to a basketball game again and take a chance? Is that how we're going to live? No. That's not how I'm going to live. People have this wrong. And I'm not trying to change any minds here. I'm not trying to preach anything. If you're happy retreating into fear, you're not. Nobody is. It's impossible. But, have it. This is what the world offers, and this is what we already have. So, but I'm talking about an alternative, a way to get things going again. And I'm not just talking about this virus. I'm talking about life in general. So, I'm a student of A Course in Miracles. I'm on my maybe fourth time through A Course in Miracles in the past 4 years. It's kind of a thing I live with. And through the Course, I've learned, and I fully believe, that there is only two basic emotions. There's fear, and from that fear comes stress, comes attack, comes all these negative forms, anger, jealousy. It's all rooted in this basic fear. And I'll explain that a little bit more. The opposite of this way of being, this way of thinking and feeling, is love. And the only cure for fear is love. You cannot end your fear unless you completely embrace the thought system and the feeling and the ways of perfect love, or God's love, unconditional love. And love solves every challenge. Okay? So in this case, a person who's aligned with love and doesn't really have that fear is not going to contract the virus. If there were people that were in a country that was based on these values, they would not have a problem. And okay, maybe in every country there are some people that just are, it's always going to be the case that the world is such that people live differently. And, those who choose to dwell in fear are those who are choosing death. Fear is the slide toward death. When you are in fear, you contract, right? You withdraw. You become paralyzed. You can't do your work. You can't serve anyone. You can't make anything for anybody. You can't help anybody. You just think about yourself. You hide away, and that's not even just the worst of it. The worst of it is what goes on inside your body. Your mind generates these scared thoughts. You generate conflict. You fight. You attack people. You defend yourself. You argue. You debate. You try to change the world around you to suit your supposed needs, and all the while you're feeding negative thoughts, which breed negative emotion. You feel your heart racing. You have anxiety attacks during the day, even during the middle of the night. Sometimes when you wake up, and through this feedback loop based on fear, you are creating illness in your body, or the potential for illness. A person in this state has a weakened immune system. You're in the state of stress, and the next virus you come in contact with, the next bacteria you come in contact with, you're going to be infected because your body cannot fight it as a healthy, normal body would. And it's not that it's not that it's just bad luck. It's because of the fear. Fear is also created, not just, most of it comes from your mind and your thoughts, but there are situations in our lives we agree to which breed fear, which make us very prone to having those kinds of thoughts. And for example, many of us have relationships or marriages that are based on fear. We're afraid of our spouse or partner. We're afraid they might leave us. We're afraid that if we do anything to have our needs met or experience our life, we might be punished severely. We're afraid of abuse. Many people live in a state of fear just because they don't want to be alone. So they have a partner who's not healthy and fearful, and that spews out from them in every various form. And that's challenging. The only way to overcome that is to just stop giving into it and just choose to undo fear within you and let the situation resolve itself however it may. In most cases, probably by separating, although I would not go that route as a first option. I would probably try to help my partner through those challenges that they're having. Other forms of fear comes if you watch the news. If you watch the news, you're going to have some element of fear trickle into your awareness, and that's going to cause you harm every single time. That's what the news does. That's what the government does with all the laws and all the threats of fines. There's so much fear coming at you, fear-based communication. And school teaches us that you better get good grades. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to have a good job. You're not going to make it. Fear is the basic lesson of the world. And even as children, we fear our parents punishing us or spanking us or yelling at us or whatever. So, we're taught all this fear. And the better we learn that lesson, the better we destroy ourselves. And we're seeing this play out in the world right now. And, even in business, it's not just now that business is going to a standstill. When there's fear in business, business doesn't happen. Fear means you don't trust anyone. You want to hold on to your money. You're greedy. You're trying to get money versus giving value. So fear destroys business, and we're seeing that play out now. It is possible to live without or with a very minimized state of fear. And this is my obsession and passion in life. This is what I do. I mean, when I say, develop a spiritual practice, I'm talking about a practice to root out fear in your mind, fearful thoughts. Because only then can you open your heart and mind and live your life fully and remain healthy and even, into your old age. There's just no way around it. You're responsible for your thoughts because your thoughts breed those emotions within. And then you have those terrible emotions, this terrible feeling inside based on fear and anger and jealousy and resentment and all these things, which all flow from fear. And then that also breeds more negative thoughts because you feel lousy. Money is just such a source of fear for people. You're always thinking about the future. And that's the other thing is that this thing about fear is it's this thought of the past and future. You're scared someone's going to find out about something about you from your past. You're scared of what's going to happen to you in the future. You're not living in the present moment. You're distracted from what is around you. And that's not the way to live. You cannot be useful if you're not paying attention to the present moment. You're not listening to people. You're not helping anyone. You're not doing anything useful. If you're on the path of fear, and I know you are, I know all of us are right now, including myself. I have too much fear in me right now because I'm afraid of what they're doing in the world. I'm afraid of this path we're going down. I live in Slovakia, and we're on lockdown like everybody else. And I resisted the whole thing. Because I know I'm not going to catch it. My family's not going to catch it. So we don't get sick because we live in love, not in any kind of fear. It doesn't exist in our relationship and in our way of thinking and talking and being. And we don't get sick. I have a little boy who's 1.5 years old. He's never been sick. 1.5-year-old baby's never been sick. Neither of us have been sick for years. And so we're not really worried about catching this. We were out there. I was going to restaurants. I was doing everything normal, going to work, all the normal stuff. And then everything shut down. Okay. And I said, let's not wear face masks. I don't want to wear face masks. It's just a symbol of fear. It's a symbol of fear. And it doesn't even work. And yet everyone around is wearing face masks. And finally, I just had to put on some kind of a makeshift face mask just so I'm not causing fear, or I don't know, just to function when I go outside. And we do go outside every day, of course. And it bothers me, but because you're caving into this whole way of thinking, and that's not the way that I think. And so there's no personal freedom to decide for ourselves, even though millions of us in the world know what I'm saying to be true and live this way. We're forced into behavior of fear. So we're projecting fear, which is not our lesson. And this is the problem with taking away personal liberty. Whoever the authorities are don't know what they're doing. I know there's such thing as viruses and bacteria. I get that. It doesn't matter if we are healthy, if we are living without fear. It doesn't touch us. So, how do you align with love? That's a big topic. Aligning with love means finding self-love, first of all. It means forgiving yourself. It means accepting yourself as you are. It means knowing that there are no solutions to be found in fear, only in love. This catastrophe is going to end at some point, at least to some degree, and it will do so when people rediscover the feeling of love and inspiration flowing from within instead of fear. We're not there yet. We're trying. A lot of us are trying. Some of us are just not even trying. But so the solution is found in love. And love looks at the reality in the present moment, sees that there's no actual problem, sees beauty in the present moment. Just looking at a tree, looking at the wall, looking at the colors in the room, looking at the curtains, feeling your inner body. Feel your shoulders relax. If you have tense shoulders or stress anywhere, you're overcome by fear. When you awaken to love, all the stress melts away. You feel good most of the time. You don't worry about the future. You know it's going to take care of itself. And it's not magic thinking, because of course, love takes care of everything. Love is the energy that lets you respond to things. Love is the energy that allows you to serve other people. And when you serve other people, you get paid because they want you to continue serving them. Love is the energy that allows you to focus on something and do good work, make good creations and do solid good work. Love makes you pleasant to be around. Love makes you in demand. Love makes you healthy and filled with energy. Love makes you beautiful. Love makes you creative. Love makes you giving, accepting, never attacking, never arguing. Imagine if you could become that kind of person. Imagine if this crisis showed you, people talk about this crisis as though it's some kind of a positive thing for the planet and all this. Well, only if we learn the lesson. Because if we're going to continue down this path of fear, it doesn't matter how long it's going to be. Is it a month? Is it 2 months? However long it takes, nothing is going to get better until we learn the lesson that this is the wrong path. And if that's the lesson we learn, then this thing is going to change the world. If we think, however, that the lockdown and all the quarantines and all this is what saved us, we're in trouble because there's a lot of other danger out there, a lot more than, and there will be in the future, there's a lot more than 5 people out of 1 million dying from things all the time. So if we don't learn this lesson in this focused little experiment we're doing with the whole world economy and and the psyches and everything else, then we're in trouble. But the lesson is love. The lesson is that no solution is found in fear. This is why children get sick at school, because they have fear at school. This is why we get sick, because we have fear and stress. We cause each other stress. We attack each other to try to fix situations. It never works. No solution to anything is ever found in fear. If you feel fear inside of you, the best thing to do, if at all possible, is not to do anything. lay in bed, read something, try to fall in love with yourself. And all love comes from self-love. It's not about getting it from somebody else. I actually did a YouTube video when I went up to the mountains a couple days ago to a field and recorded some songs. And I did a couple talks, and I did a talk on self-love on YouTube. It's a virtual reality talk. Why don't you go look at that? I think it's a really good explanation of self-love. I can't replicate it here probably right now, but it's tough out there right now. It's tough dealing with all that fear, looking at it, dealing with it. I wish that those of us who get this message could somehow reach out to those people. But, everybody's got their own journey. Fear is the journey toward death. Love is life in this moment and always, eternally. I love you, and I'll leave you with another Abscondo song. It's called Lost, and it's all about how I feel when I go out into town these days. Enjoy.
Picture me sitting on the softest edge of my unmade bed looking serious. It's not as if there should be something said, not like anyone who's out there would hear us. When you're all dressed, when you walk these streets, you feel like the stranger you would like to meet. All dressed, when you walk these streets, you feel like the stranger you would like to meet like me. Picture me riding on a crosstown train by a man who breathes like he's furious. Cause when I open that can, it's spring. It's mist on nearly everything near us. I'm not impressed the way you answer the phone, the way you talk to someone just beyond your control. I should have guessed, I should have sat all alone. Is anyone still looking for a friend at all? When you're all dressed, when you walk these streets, you feel like the stranger you would like to meet. So unimpressed, are you standing alone? Everyone is looking, they don't see you at all like me. Sometimes I feel lost in this town. Sometimes I feel lost in this town. Lost in this town. When you're all dressed, when you walk these streets, you feel like the stranger you would like to meet. So unimpressed, when you stand there alone, everyone is looking, they don't see you at all. All dressed, when you walk these streets, do you feel like the stranger you would like to meet? So unimpressed, while you stand there alone, while everyone is looking, they don't see you at all. You feel like there's someone who's there. When you're all dressed, when you walk these streets, does it feel like you're going nowhere? When you're all dressed, when you walk these streets, you feel like there's someone who's there. When you're all dressed,